lay dean or the area dean. When an archdeacon is looking for people to assist him in his visitation, that can be the lay dean or the area dean. When we're looking for a representative from the deanery for any diocesan meeting, and rather than thinking immediately, the area dean will invite, we say it can be the lay dean or the area dean. And we now gather area and lay deans together in each of the archdeaconries. It's really been a significant change, and we'll hear a bit more about that in a moment. And the last thing is to look clearly at what is the purpose of Deanery Synod. And, you know, the old joke about, you know, what's a group of people waiting to go home, a Deanery Synod. It wasn't completely untrue, because people didn't know why they were coming. You know, what was the purpose? It felt very committee-like. We often sat in the same places. We had the same agenda. So we wanted to say, no, the reason you exist in York Diocese is to deliver, it's to form and deliver the mission and ministry plan. That is why you exist, first and foremost, to fulfill the vision of inspiring, influencing and leading mission and ministry, together with the leadership team to create the plan, and then to monitor it, to encourage it, to enable it to happen. If that means you need to invite in a diocesan officer to help you, then that's fine. But that doesn't mean diocesan officers just have a right to invite themselves round on a sort of roadshow of synods, which we can easily fall into the trap of, which are sort of interesting evenings, but if we're honest, very often with no actual output at the end of it. So synod becomes something which has output. And as Jackie was saying, you know, we encourage people to do it differently. Think about your venue, think about the way you lay out the rooms, think about the time, think about anything, think about the name. So one of our deaneries now has a deanery gathering, because going back to what we were talking about earlier, about plain speak English, what is a synod? How many people that don't go to it have a clue what it means? How many people who go to it have a clue what it means? So, although we've only had one deanery that's chosen to go that way, we've given permission to that. And we've also said that deanery synods should be open to all in the deanery. So that's just a given. And if ever we need to elect, or we need to vote, then obviously it's only the members that can do the voting. We had a bit of resistance when we started doing this, because people said, but what about when General Synod wants to send down a motion for us to consider, or they want to hear an issue? And we said, well, that's fine. Once a decade, when that happens, you can still gather in that way. But if you're really shaping yourself as somewhere in their mindset for once a decade event, we've really lost the plot. Let's hear a little bit from Middlesbrough, and Kate's going to come and just tell us what it's been like to be a lay dean and how that's influenced the changes there.
Well, it's not just different being a lay dean, but it's very different having a deanery leadership team. Middlesbrough Deanery has been on a bit of a journey in the last 6 years. Before all this happened, we had to be, because of our bias to the poor, we had to start working together. Because our town is poor and deprived, and there was little hope, and they needed us to get in there with that hope and start being biased towards the poor. And we feel, in a way, as though the diocese caught up with us. We were already on that journey, and they caught up with us. And it's been wonderful having a deanery leadership team instead of the old standing committee. And as lay dean, one of the things that I've tried to do is to encourage and support lay initiatives, so that a lot of our mission and ministry things are not coming down from the clergy, but they're real bottom-up stuff. And one of them that has made a very real difference in our deanery is the Deanery Fellowship. And this is something that is a lay initiative. It was nothing to do with any of the clergy, and it's lay-led, and very rarely one of the clergy will come along. They're very welcome, but they don't come. And we meet once a month. The Deanery Fellowship is open to anybody in any of the churches in the Deanery. It draws church members together in friendship, and friendships are beginning to be formed across parishes, which didn't happen much before. And we meet to have some good worship, a good speaker, some good cake, and some good chat and listening. And every month I try to go and have a slot for the Deanery Leadership Team news. And because this isn't just Deanery Synod members, this is general church members coming, news about the Deanery Leadership Team and what's happening is spreading throughout church membership. I think it's encouraging that feeling and experience of being Deanery together and feeling that together we can do things better. Another thing I try to do is encourage and support cross-parish initiatives as they occur. And there are little ways that this can happen. Sometimes people will phone up and say, oh, we've got a real need for prayer. And I can share that with different parishes. And so that's a way of being encouraged together. The training that was mentioned, we do quite a bit of training together now in our deanery. And just a simple thing, several churches working together to become dementia-friendly churches, and in partnership with other people in the town, doing that training about how to make your church dementia-friendly, sharing ideas, sharing resources. Open the Book is a cross-parish initiative taking the Bible into primary schools. And guess what? We've even got a cupboard now for resources for Open the Book that people can go to, whichever church they belong to. Another thing that I've tried to do is, well, in Middlesbrough, we have had difficulties because of very different types of churchmanship, and some people taking their bat home and being difficult and not wanting to join in with the rest of the deanery. And I've tried to be a bit of a focus for unity. I think a layperson isn't quite as directly identified with a particular type of churchmanship, and it's good to have someone that clergy can ring and just have a chat and a moan, somebody who's a good listener and confidential. That doesn't sound much, but I think it really has helped. And recently I had a letter from a priest who formerly was one who took his bat home very frequently. And he wrote and said, having a lay dean has eased relationships and brought us together in this deanery. And if you knew what had happened in the past in our deanery, you'd know that that is a big step forward. Sometimes they'll ring me up and ask for information. A vicar rang me up and said, I've got a French-speaking asylum seeker and there isn't a single soul in this parish who speaks good French. How can I do a confirmation class? And within a couple of days, I was able to find someone who would go and help him. And that didn't just solve his problem, but it's a link between two more parishes that will bear fruit in the future. I think being part of the appointments process is helpful as a lay dean. Having that role in the appointment process for clergy posts in the deanery brings a lay focus even more. What do the laity need? What does the deanery need in this place? So those are just a few of the things. I could go on for ages, but I won't. But it's quite busy being a lay dean, but it's fun in some ways, and I think it is beginning to help to bring our deanery very much together. But I'll tell you something funny, because we do pray for the Archdeacon in the church where I worship, once a week anyway.
Not for this Archdeacon, though.
Not for you.
No, not for me. No, you see, no one prays for me.
Do tell her when you see her. And whoever's leading the midweek Eucharist goes through the list of all the church leaders in Middlesbrough.